Good morning. It's exciting. We're going to finish the Maimer today, Mirz Hashem. The fourth part of the struggle of prayer. Really, instead of struggle, it should probably be called the mechanism of prayer, how it actually works, or what's meant to happen. It's a struggle because the Zohar refers to it as a time of battle. You're trying to take your animal soul and elevate it, include it in its source, which is going to cause that instead of having a drive for material things and a passion, I'm interested and have a chayes in spirituality, which is obviously easier said than done. But if Chassidus says we could do it, that means we could do it.
That's right.
So Lamed Hey Daled. We should really link a link to buying the Sefer online for YouTube for all those who could buy it. It just doesn't exist in English yet.
You're working on it?
I don't think so. I mean, I hope. It's impossible to transform the nature of his midah, to change it completely, without a help and assistance, a godly help and assistance. You can't, it's very nice to say we're going to transform our passion from material to spiritual, our drive in pleasure and other urges is going to change, and now it's going to be all for serving Hashem. It's a beautiful concept, but it's impossible to do it. Impossible is a strong term. It's good morning. It's impossible to do it without help from above. It even says, Chazal tell us that the Yetzer Hara is so strong that Ilmolei HaKadosh Baruch Hu Ezrei, if Hashem will not help him, the person, you can't, you're not a match for it. In other words, it's extremely powerful. Hashem gives us the help we need, but we first have to recognize that you're dealing with a force which is strong, very strong. You need godly intervention and assistance to overcome it. And secondly, that if you're looking to transform, not just to control today, but to transform the drive of what you're into, you need to have godly assistance. If Hashem doesn't help him, then etc., you wouldn't be able to deal with it. A person does not have enough strength in his soul alone to just elevate and go up to your source, which is what we're trying to do, the source of the animal soul. Only after a flow of Ein Sof, the infinite light of Hashem, comes down, then you could do it. But on your own, it's very, very hard. What is that flow? This is the shine of the light of Torah and mitzvahs. I'm going to explain how this works, but there is a mechanism how you could bring forth that light, which is going to be your assistance to overcome the negative urges and drives and inner struggles. And that happens, you get that light through Torah mitzvahs. Why? Torah mitzvahs, they stem from the Pnei Adam Sha'al HaKisei. On the Merkava and the Chariot from the vision of Yecheskel, there is several different things, but among them is the face of the animals, which is what we're talking about, where our neshama, nefesh habahamis, originates from, and then there's also a face of man. From that man, in a sense, there are certain energies that you get through doing Torah mitzvahs.
Why does Torah always say Torah is referred to as Adam sometimes?
So the next line is going to explain that. That's a very good point. Because Ramach Eivarim de Malka, Veshasa Gidim, the structure of Torah is 248 positive mitzvahs and 365 negative, which is a direct correspondence to the human being. We have 248 limbs and 365 sinews. Could you name them? Okay. I'm not sure doctors can. Which they are a passageway of the blood to the blood, which is the nefesh, the soul. So it works like this. Just like in a body, in a person, you have blood, and the limbs and the sinews are what are bringing this blood to the soul, and from the soul, there's a pumping mechanism and a I don't want to call it a plumbing system, but there's a system going on in the body that's bringing blood all wherever they have to go for it to function properly. Similarly, our doing mitzvahs brings forth an energy, a flow, a divine spirituality from above into our lives. But Torah mitzvahs, the 248 and 365, is what's doing it, and it's through fulfilling. So it's two parts: it's the blood and the chayis, the energy. The blood comes through the positive mitzvahs, and the chayis comes through keeping the negative, meaning refraining from doing them, standing strong. So the reason why it's called Adam is because it works like in Adam itself. The Torah mitzvahs are tools that bring forth godliness into our lives. On the basic level, you do it, you get holier. On a more specific level, you're transferring or transmitting rather chayis from the from above to into your lives.
So actually, Ari Kaplan's commentary on Sefer Yetzirah, he also talks about the lave as a channeling, the blood which brings all the neuroceptors throughout our body, and lave being the first and last letters of the Torah, Bereshis Yisrael, the first and last words, and then the 13, the 12 vertebrae, and the overall nervous system being the channel number 13, which of course is relevant, channeling all these different.
Nice. And through this he gets koyach in the fire of above, which we said the process of prayer is to bring the heavenly fire down here. So you're putting koyach in the heavenly fire, which is sometimes referred to as the chair or the throne, that fire which exists in the chair, which in the Merkava we say Musa Kisei, the image of a chair, there's a fire there, you're giving it strength to flow and come down here, to consume and to burn up as koyach nefesh hamis, to burn up this koyach of the nefesh which desires, and to elevate it, l'sharshay to its source canal. We said before multiple times, the way that this works is the animal soul, the animal is placed on the mizbeach, and then there's the human, the hedyet, as we call it, puts the fire on the mizbeach, and then there's a fire from above which comes and consumes it. We explained that you have to do something in order for it to happen. In Eis Beis, we said it requires isurso de lasata. You have to have some effort on your part. That part is create that fire, show up, do something. We said it's hisbainos, create those feelings and so on. Now we're saying you can't transform it unless you have help from above. How do you get that help from above? You evoke it through doing Torah mitzvahs. You bring forth that fire, which will then burn up the fire of the animal soul. It consumes it. It's not even so much destroying, you're elevating it, you're bringing it back to its source. You're not getting rid of the nefesh habahamis, you're just transforming it. You're getting it onto the right team. And then what happens as a result, in your soul, there is a projection, a shine. It's going to illuminate the midas of Hashem in your soul, and not the natural midas that you have within your soul. Again, where do we have those natural midas from? The source of animal. On the way down, it went through a long journey, and unfortunately, different fragments and pieces ended up in the wrong places, and that energy is so powerful that it was misused. Now you have intense drives for things that are really bad, potentially, a present company exclude. Okay. And that's what it means. Hashem will place him in your hands. In the pasuk in our parsha, when it talks about going to war for the enemies, against the enemies, Hashem says, "I'm going to put them in your hands," which means, you got it. You'll win. Havaya ubechinas haTorah. It says Havaya lekecha will put it in your hands. Havaya is the level of Torah, shiritzonei v'chemasa yizbarich, which is the desire and the will of Hashem. Ve'iraisa and Torah and Hashem b'kutshabricha kol echad. Torah and Hashem are all one. So Havaya is Torah, and Elikecha are mitzvahs. It says in the Sunday Havaya lekecha biyadecha. Right. So Hashem Elikecha is going to give it into your hands. Hashem Yud Kivavki refers to Torah, but it says Hashem Elikecha Eish Echlahu, and Hashem is Torah, and Elikecha are mitzvahs. Within mitzvahs, you have two categories: 248 Bikudim Namach Evin the Malka, which are the 248 limbs of the king, And in a moment, we're going to discuss what the difference between Torah and mitzvahs. These are both tools to bring forth the fire from above, but they're not one and the same. There's a difference between Torah versus mitzvahs. They come from a different aspect. They manifest themselves down here differently, and there's a debate which one is actually more powerful. Are mitzvahs more powerful, or is Torah more powerful? To preface, you can't have one. You can't say I'm only going to have Torah. There's certain people that only have mitzvahs, and Torah is one of the mitzvahs. You have to learn it on some level, whatever you're capable of doing. If you don't have time, you have to do it in the morning and at night, something. But unfortunately, there is this thinking, or there was this thinking, I'm going to do just Torah. I'll leave the mitzvahs for someone else. And that is an issue. Chazal tell us, someone that says all I have is Torah, even his Torah is nothing. There's even more extreme expressions. So let's look at it inside. For now, we know we have to have both Torah and mitzvahs to bring forth this fire. The Sheiresh based Bechines Elu, and the source of these two levels, Torah and mitzvahs, Heim Noot Tchilasan B'Seifan V'Seifan B'Tchilasan. The beginning is wedged in the end, and the end is wedged in the beginning. Okay. Usually we say that means they're one and the same. There is no beginning, there is no end. Now we're going to explore that there is a difference. What's the top, what's the bottom? It's connected, but there is a top and a bottom. And even after they're connected, was this the bottom connecting up, or is it the top connecting down? With me? Okay. Ki b'chinas ha-Torah b'chinas melech. Torah is referred to as king. There's an interesting Maimer Chazal, Masnisa Malkisa. Mishnayis is king. Sha'am Mishnah, well, derech mashal kamei melech. How is Mishnah king? Mishnah is like a king, shu geizer v'aimer. The Mishnah decrees and says, she'im yitei Ruven kach, that if John Doe, no, it says Ruven, but if Ruven is going to say X, then the law is going to be yupsak kach l'kach. The verdict is so and so. It's not up for debate. The Mishnah is halacha. He ruled it. There could be a machlekes there, but there's a ruling, and the Mishnah says this is the ruling. That means he's like a king. He just declares it, and it becomes law. It's not just regarding monetary arguments between Reuven and someone else, but even in what's prohibited and what's permissible, there's rules. The level of mitzvahs is not in the format of a king who just declared this is what has to happen. Rather, it's a eved, it's a servant, who's here ready to listen to his voice. The Yidden are my master, my servants. So you have king and servants. King is more the Torah is king, like you see Mishnayis is called Torah, it's halacha, it's a ruling, and mitzvahs are called avadim because mitzvahs are called b'chinas eved, to listen and follow instructions. Now, essentially, it's one and the same. They're both rules, right? Torah is telling you the rules, and mitzvahs are saying what is it that I have to do. But one is a melech approach from the king telling you what to do, and one is from the slave, the servant, doing what the king said, or what the master said.
Can you hire a servant to do your mitzvahs for you?
You can start an app.
Perfect.
Mitzvahs Rabbit. Hine. B'chinas meluchas ha-Torah. What is this level of kingship of Torah? Sheba melachim yimleichu. The kings rule there. Umachmas shekol ha'esek b'Torah HaKadosh Baruch Hu keda v'shena kenegdei. Chazal tell us, our sages teach us, that anyone that learns Torah, who's involved in Torah, while he's learning Torah, Hashem is correspondingly saying Torah with him. So in a sense, everyone becomes a king. You could say this, on the same level from that aspect. You're learning and Hashem is learning with you as a result of what you're doing. I will place my words in your mouth. The Yaakov Chala Nachalasai. And Yaakov is the rope of his inheritance, which means when a Yid does a mitzvah, and when he learns Torah, you're connecting to Hashem, but not just they're connected. You're connected in a way of a rope. A rope, when you pull the bottom, the top moves. Right? You can be connected to something, but you're not impacting the thing that you're connected to. Your behavior is not causing any difference. Not that Hashem has a difference, but it's not impacting anything in the source. So you have here, for example, a person who's shaking a rope down here. Up there, the rope is also shaking because you're yanking it. And for this reason, Torah is compared to water. Water descends from a high place. It comes from a high place to a low place. This is what it means, that the end is wedged in the beginning. Why? Because I'm down here, it's attached to the top, right? So the end, let's say a rope, is wedged up there, right? It's hanging down here, and I'm moving it, and I'm affecting the top. But what is it really? There's a top and a bottom, and the bottom is, we're going to say being pulled, but no, it means it's implanted or attached in the top. And that's Torah. V'zeh no, it's tlosim b'seifon. U'b'chinas ha-mitzvahs heim seifon b'tchilas. And the mitzvahs are the end in the beginning. Ki seif ma'aseh machshava tchila. I mixed it up, I apologize. That'll be around. Torah, the top is being wedged into the bottom because you're learning here what was established over there. So the main thing is the top, and the mitzvahs is the end, is in the beginning. No, I said it correctly, I'm sorry. Okay. You have a top and a bottom. Torah is coming down here, right? So the main thing is, I'm down here and I'm pulling what's up over there. Mitzvahs, where do you have the manifestation? Seif Maiseh, Machshava Tchila, it's down here. So the top is being wedged in the bottom by mitzvahs, and by mitzvahs the bottom is being wedged in the top. I'm pulling that string, I'm causing the top to move. Okay. The point is, there is a circle, like a ring. No, it's chilasan v'seifan v'seifan b'tchilasan. But there's two emphases here. Mitzvahs, the focus is on the bottom, and Torah, the focus is on the top. Now, in each one, in Torah, you're shaking the top because you're moving it. In mitzvahs, you're impacting the bottom because that was the goal of the whole machshava, is that it should come down here. Right? So you have both of these things going on together. What are we getting at? V'lachen, and therefore you find this duality. Pam amru Razal gadol talmud shemevi lidei ma'aseh. Sometimes Chazal tell us Torah is greater because it brings to action. What's more important? What's more valuable? Learning Torah or doing mitzvahs?
Doing mitzvahs.
Well, sometimes the Gemara says learning is greater because it brings you to mitzvahs. Aha. So really mitzvahs are greater. It's only better because it brings you to mitzvahs. Alma ma'isa adifa. So you see that action is more important because Torah was so great because it's a means to get to mitzvahs. So the end goal is the mitzvahs. Upam amru, and sometimes they say the Talmud Torah can I get kulam. Torah is, we said this morning in brachas, learning Torah corresponds or is equal to everything. Meaning that's the mitzvah which matches everything else. Why do we say sometimes like this, sometimes like that? Make up your mind. Ki shnehem emes. They're both true. If it's wedged, the beginning, the end, in the beginning, it depends what you're looking at. If you're looking from the top down or bottom up, you'll say Torah is more important. The mitzvahs are more important. If you're saying that beginning is wedged in the end, then Talmud Torah gadol, learning Torah is greater, because that's where you have the manifestation of the beginning. It is in this world. But if you're looking at it from the fact that the end is wedged in the beginning, then Maisa is greater. Ushnehem, and both of these, they both have to be in the person. Meaning you have to have both aspects. You have to have the fact that the top is being wedged in the bottom, and you have to have the element that the bottom is being edged in the top. Maybe we could say you have to have the focus that I'm bringing forth something from above, and I have to have the emphasis that I am elevating, I'm attaching to myself something higher, I'm going up. And they're both correct. Yeah. That's why sometimes we say this is more important. Sometimes we say that's more important.
It's usually from the mouth to the man. That's the
I don't know if it's usually. We go back and forth. We're talking about bringing forth a fire from above. We're talking about elevating ourselves. there's two directions.
Why I make my latkes in the shape of Sefer Torah, because I could wedge them inside. Think about it.
How do you accomplish that?
It's very special. You have a little thing like a cookie maker.
Yeah. Okay. B'chinas.
I gave two of them.
B'chinas. Where are we?
Ubechina sofo.
B'chinas seifam b'tchilasan. But if you say that the end is wedged in the beginning, from that aspect, the ma'isa gadol, action is greater. U'shneihem tzrichim liyes b'adam. A person has to have both of these elements. That the top is more important, or that the bottom is more important. Both of them. Ki hamshachish adam mamshech b'chinas ha'teira, because the hamshachish that a person brings forth in the level of teira. Uliyes b'chinas ratzui. What happens when you bring forth the level of teira? It's love, and it causes you to run towards Hashem. Now we explained that you have to have both. You have to have the intense desire, and you have to have the returning. When a person starts to contemplate in the beginning and in its root, meaning where it comes from, when that happens, he develops this love for Hashem. Because Torah comes from Chachma. And Hashem and His Chachma are all one. When he's involved in it, Hashem learns with him. So basically what you're having now is a situation that a person is learning and Hashem is learning with him. The Imrats, so you realize that there's a tremendous value to that, and it develops Ava. The Imrats libcha shuv la'echad. And if a person is, if his heart is running, return to one. How do you return to one? Through mitzvahs. So I have Torah, which is the word I'm looking for, impetus, two mitzvahs. That's why we said that Torah is greater because it leads to mitzvahs. And the end is in the beginning. And it gets elevated and included in its root l'mayla. Ad ruma mayla is till the loftiest of levels. So what happens is Torah gives me the develops it, causes it, and the mitzvahs. Torah develops the love, and mitzvahs brings the return. With the shuv, the settling has a proper way for it to manifest. And as a result of all this, what do you have? The fire from above is coming down. What are we trying to do? We're trying to consume our animal fire by bringing down a godly fire. Or our earthly fire, bring down a heavenly fire. You do that through Torah mitzvahs. How? There's a mechanism. Torah, through his beinunus and recognition of what I'm learning and where it's coming from, and Teitzi Hashem and so on, and have access to it, that gives me a desire for Hashem. That's a ratzui. And then I can't keep going there because it's dangerous. Then I have the shuv where I return, I settle in. Chavre. Try to keep up. Okay. And then you bring the fire down. And then it affects till the nefesh habahamis. The chayes, they carry and they get carried with the chair. Because the one that is riding on the chair in the wagon, he's carrying his passengers or his loads. When you're riding, the chair is carrying you, but as a result of you, you're carrying whatever you're carrying. And this is the level of Adam, which is Gematria Ma, Bechinas bittul. That's chachma keach ma, which is the level of bittul. Okay, this as is explained elsewhere. When you're carried, that's the level of bittul. So, in addition to bringing forth fire and consuming our animal fire, there's something else that happens through the process of Torah and mitzvahs. A person gets lifted. When you're lifted, that means you're carrying, but you're being carried. Being carried is bittul. I'm allowing myself, I'm vulnerable, I'm being taken. In the relationship with Hashem, that means that I have this koyach ma, chachma, which is bittul, which is a necessary component for the animal soul to be included in the godly fire. Some achsidus always comes back to bittul. Self-nullification, humility, commitment, etc. Because the revelation of the revelations of Hashem in the higher worlds happens through his midos. What's the very first midah? It's chesed. So it has to start with chesed. If you want to have the manifestation of this, it's through his midos. And the first midah, it's not just the first in a row, but it's the main one, is chesed. And the world gets created through chesed. And therefore it's impossible to transform the midas of the worlds unless you bring forth chachma ilah, which is the source of Torah mitzvahs. Okay, so the mechanism, you go to war. War in this case means the nefesh habahamis, its desires. The way to do that is to transform it. The way that you do that, you have to be on your enemy. On means focus on the on, where it comes from, which is the source of the animal energy, which is ala kisei of the Merkava. In that Merkava, by accessing it, you bring forth fire, which is done through Torah mitzvahs. That fire is similar to the fire that was on a mizbeach in the literal sense, which consumed the animal as a result of the person doing his part. And now my animal soul gets burnt up, and its passion is same drives, but it's for godliness. And the other things that are not godly but are necessary happen with somewhat of a second tier priority, a little bit cooler, and you got to do it. You do it well, but it's not you're not dreaming and thinking and constantly about the food that you have to eat. You're going to eat it. You're going to eat it well. You're going to eat healthy. You're going to eat proper. Everything's going to be fine, but it's not going to consume your life 24/7.
Unless their latke's shaped like Sefer Torah.
Exactly.
Right.
It's exceptions that we read.
Yes.
And afterwards, you'll capture a captive. That's the next part of the parsha. What happens if a person goes to war and he captures a captive? It's a little bit the other way around. This that was in captivity by the koyach hamis'ave, there was a strength, a drive that wants certain things, which should be for godliness, but it was in captivity by the animal soul. You're going to capture that back. Through this, that a person allowed himself to descend into the evils of this physical world, meaning not good things, v'tainugov and its pleasures. The strength has been swallowed and permeated or brought in. I'm not sure exactly the title of vayak inay. To go up and be included also in holiness. So what happens is, not just are you transforming, but you're also returning strengths that were taken in captivity. Now, we're recognizing that how did it end up in that place is through my behaviors and my choices. Until now, what do you want? There's an animal soul. It came down, and in the process it has some interesting tendencies, and I'm struggling with it. Now there's another subtext here. It's not just, that's my animal soul, what do you want from me? I kind of work this. And through being involved in physical pursuits, I have this interest in things that are less than ideal. But he calls them evil. So because of those actions, it's harder to turn it around. I shared the story 2 days ago about Ibn Lafutafas, right? He's saying, because you're involved so much in materialism for longer, you become more coarse, etc. That's why we have in Shemona Esrei, we went through Brachas Krishma, Pesachei de Zimra. That's why we have Slach Lanu, the bracha, to atone. Because until we didn't have the awakening from below, it was in a way of evil or going off from the ways of their sins. So till now, he was sinning, but completely, almost disillusioned, consumed into this negativity.
What's a villain?
So sometimes it means the sins, doing sins, it means going off the rails. Guilty. But now that he sees that he sinned, okay, till now he was completely down that path. He wasn't paying attention. He wasn't even seeing the light, so to speak. But now that we're during this process, and we're transforming, and we're doing our part, and we're bringing down a fire from above, now we realize, 1 second, I kind of messed up here. I have to return those sparks, which fell through a brokenness, thanks to my sins. Usually, but now there's sparks, and through my actions, I brought them really low down. Like Tanya explains, when a person does an Aveda, you're taking all that strength and energy, and you're taking it to a low place. Fine, life goes on. But now at some point I realize, 1 second, I gotta transform stuff. This desire is overtaking me, it's too much. And it's as a result of what I did. Okay, atone for me, I messed up, forgive me. Let's try to fix this. And then we say, return us with a complete tshuva for you. Return what? Return the sparks. I messed up. I took sparks all the way down through my actions. Let's return it. It should be in a level in front of you. The way they are in their roots. They should be included and united. Their chayis in the source from where they were chiseled out from. Umishama is not just returning it, but from there I want to bring forth a fresh new light. So what happens is a yid says, I gotta change. Okay, it's Elul, I want to improve. I start to bring a fire, I do my part. I start explaining us. I'm thinking about the greatness of Hashem. I'm thinking about, I do Torah mitzvahs, which brings forth that fire. It starts to consume my animal soul. Then I realize, 1 second, it's because of all my actions that I have this issue. To a great degree. A lot of it is the neshama itself, the nefesh habahamis, right? To a great degree. I have to atone for that, those actions. I also have sparks that as a result of my behaviors ended up in the wrong places. So I'm asking Hashem atone for me, and the next bracha is Hashivenu, return us, meaning return those sparks that fell to a very low place. What time is it, by the way?
7 minutes.
Oh, beautiful. We call bracha sheb'shmeina esrei, and this is the idea of all the brachas of Shmeina Esrei. How many brachas do we have in Shmeina Esrei?
19.
Yeah, 19, very good. It's called 18, just to confuse that? No. Baruch means it should come forth and should flow a new hamshacha and araf from the light of Hashem. That's the Baruch Atah. Baruch was constantly saying, bring forth that new, fresh light. But again, it was a process. Psuki, the Zimra, Shema, beginning of Shemona Esrei, asking for atonement, recognizing where I am, and now it's let's bring a new light. Let's bring something fresh. Let's start again. The b'chinas das u'tshuva u'slicha, to the level of das and tshuva and atonement. Meaning the light should really come in and do its impact. And that's what it means. The smell of my aroma, or the aroma of my smell, right? Is that correct?
Right, yeah, about.
Smell is not an aroma, but anyway.
I thought nice is like pleasant.
Yeah, pleasant, correct. So the aroma of my pleasantness, or pleasant aroma. But we're going to focus on the word nichechi, which in Hebrew, nechus darga means a lower level. So we're coming to Hashem and saying that my lower level, which is now trying to be elevated and change and bring forth a higher fire and elevate the sparks and get atonement and return, all these things, they should be a pleasant aroma for you. The process should be pleasant for Hashem because I'm on a low level. Now sometimes the low level is really where the appreciation is at because it's real, there's a lot of emes there, it's sincere. But reach nechechet is nechos darga. Upirosh aidei sheyakriv lachmi liishai. Through this that I'm going to, or he's going to, bring his bread, his offering, to the fire. He eila l'reyach. It goes up to an aroma. Sheyen nachas ruach lefanav yisbarech. Hashem has a tremendous nachas when this happens. Kiman da'orich reyach, like a person who smells this pleasant aroma. It's b'chayet. Somebody called me a few days ago, and I called him back, and he had a question. What's the question? How do you say I'm a chaya in English? So I don't know how to say it in English.
Vitalizes.
No, I don't think it's good enough.
Wild animal?
It's an expression of like machaya.
Oh, machaye.
I said it delightful.
Enliven.
It's an expression where something is really gishmak. You say it's a machaya.
You translated kishmak.
I said use chutzpah. Okay. Kiman da'anach reach va'azay yevechenas nichechi liyes nechos darga l'satel ashpei hashefa tuva ve'eri kanal. When a person is going to be low level on himself, on a low level on himself, which means that's going to cause a reach nichech for Hashem, that's going to cause another lowness to happen, not in a negative sense, but Hashem is going to descend, the fire is going to descend down here. So reach nichech has two meanings, and more than two, but two aspects to the lowness. Lowness is the person is low, and he realizes that in my low state, or because of my low situation, I'm transforming. That causes a nachas ruach for Hashem, and that causes another lowness, a lowering of that fire that we're trying to get into our lives, which burns up the animal soul and gets it on fire. That's what it means, my pleasantness. It's mine. As if you're bringing down him himself, so to speak. Hashem himself, that as a result of all this, you're causing the Yeshera Misgala it should dwell and rest in this world in a way of revelation. It's a revealed state, right? We live in a world where you don't recognize godliness. But through all this whole process, you're bringing down Hashem into this world. And now it's felt and it's revealed. You look around and you see godliness. Do the parentheses if you have time. It was that it should have said Adam Mikem Ki Yaakov. It's a general question that we ask Adam Maimarim. We had it in Vayikra. Why it's the first Maimar that's being learned in Tem Chetumim.
So very fundamental.
Yeah, exactly. Very good. So the question there was, why do you say Adam Ki Yaakov Mikem? A person is going to bring from you. Which you say a person from you, which will bring. In other words, you're not bringing an animal from you. It's one of you. Someone among you is going to bring an animal. But the reality is that you're bringing it from you. And that's what Chassidus is saying. You have to take that animal and offer it. To bring it onto the Mizbeach. As it says elsewhere, Adam, that's going to be marketed, refers to Torah, which we said is 248 mitzvahs asay. That's how it's person, because it has 248 positive and negative. And through this, you'll be bringing from the animal, meaning that through a person doing that, through Torah, which is the 248 limbs, you bring forth the koyach to refine the nefesh of hamis. This is like the punchline, and we're running through it because of time. Through Torah, which is Shema, you elevate and refine ban, which is the animal, which is what our struggle. Like the Parsha said, Hashem will put it in your hands. You're able to refine it. And therefore, therefore, all the karbanos have to be either in the Mishkan first and then in the Mikdash. That's where you have the dwelling of Ma to refine Ba.
Mikdash is in, Mishkan is in Mikdash.
Right, the first was in the desert, Mishkan, then later it was the...
What about the times you're able to bring karbanos outside the Mishkan?
It didn't have the same dwelling of Shekhinah. Thanks for joining.